Hello, everyone. Our clock is reading 11 a.m. EST, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today about quick and easy case reassignment, which is one of the new improvements in ProcessMaker 3.3. My name is Summer, and I'm going to be taking you through an introduction on ProcessMaker 3.3. And then following that, we're going to have Edwin Paredes with us, who is going to take us through a demo of how case reassignment works in ProcessMaker 3.3. Before I begin, feel free to submit questions at any point in the webinar, and we will get to those after the demo. So with no further ado, let's begin. All right, so ProcessMaker 3.3 comes with various new improvements. One of the most important improvements is now ProcessMaker is fully compatible with PHP 7, which means a big boost in performance. And then obviously we have end user case reassignment, which we're about to show you today, so I won't go into that any further. And then we also feature improved logs and traceability in ProcessMaker 3.3. We already held a webinar on that, so if you're interested in learning more about this new improvement, feel free to check out our recorded webinars page. But our improved logs and traceability allow you to download log files so you can view them more easily. And it also creates more detailed logs that include actions by email. All right, and then two of our really cool new features in ProcessMaker 3.3 include the Process Documenter plugin. So what this plugin does is it adds a button to your process map so you can create documentation simply by clicking on various elements on the process map and then simply enter documentation about those elements in a text editor. Once you're finished adding a text to each element on your process map, you can then generate an entire document in PDF or doc format to generate really clean looking, really nice looking documentation without much fuss. We also feature the Google Authentication plugin, which allows you to use Google to authenticate into ProcessMaker automatically. So for administrators, this is good news for you because you can sync users between Google and ProcessMaker so you don't have to constantly create duplicate accounts. And then for users, this is also great news because you don't have to log into multiple applications every time you need to navigate between whatever website you're using. All right, so then a little bit about case reassignment before we begin. So what this new feature does is it features a new process permission that grants end users the ability to reassign their cases. What happened in the past was that only process supervisors could reassign cases for end users, but end users could not do it themselves. So this is a pretty big improvement, and we'll explain why on the next slide. And then once this feature also adds a button to the user's inbox so they can just click it and reassign their case pretty easily. So now for this next slide, I'm going to hand it over to Edwin, who's going to tell you all about our case reassignment in ProcessMaker 3.3. Okay, Edwin.
Thank you, Summer, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, and welcome again to this webinar. My name is Edwin, and today I'll talk of case reassignment. What is case reassignment? In ProcessMaker, we use this term to talk about the reallocation of a task from one user to another. But why we should have end users the ability to reassign their own cases? Well, there are three main reasons. The first one, the case was mistakenly assigned to the wrong user. Errors happen. Maybe the wrong user was manually assigned to a task, or the process might have a flaw in the logic. The second reason, the assigned user cannot complete the task because they are currently with a lot of work, or maybe they just lack the knowledge to complete the task. In this case, this user might ask help for their colleagues. And the third reason, work delegation. Sometimes a case requires the intervention of an important person. For example, the intervention of some department manager. So now these people usually work with subordinates that help them to complete all their day-to-day tasks. All right, all the reasons mentioned aims to keep the things rolling. The first point was already covered by ProcessMaker with functionalities like the process supervisor. And in ProcessMaker 2.3.0, we just added end-user reassignment to cover the second and the third point. All right. I want to also mention that with this improvement, the person who has received the case can reassign it to another user without the need to become a process supervisor. Okay. Allow me to jump into the demo to see if this is working. Okay. For this demonstration, I prepare a simplified version of a purchase requisition process, which is basically a request raised by an area to make a purchase. This process counts with 3 tasks. The first task, named Create Request, can be started by people from different areas. It counts with a form to capture the name of the item required, as well as the price and the quantity. The second task will be required only if the total cost is bigger than $1,000. In this case, the request will require the approval of the finance manager, who will have to study the request to take a decision. But this person is busy with other financial stuff. Therefore, he will rely on its subordinates to help with the request. In other words, he will delegate the cases. And the final task is for accountants. We're not going too deep into this one. All right. I want you to pay attention to the assignees inside this task. There is only one assignee in the task, which is Thomas Miller, the finance manager. But we want him to also be able to delegate cases to its subordinates. For that reason, I assigned one subordinate into the ad hoc user, who is George Davis. All right, so there is only one thing left to do. Let's open the permission panel and make sure that Thomas Miller can reassign its cases. Allow me to do this from scratch. Let's create a permission. Select Thomas Miller. Pick the permission type, which in this case is reassign my cases. And also select the target task. So I want Thomas Miller to reassign cases only from the finance manager approval task. All right, so that's it. Let's save it. Now let's see this working. To start a request, I assigned one user, who's Sarah Johnson. Simulate this person from the sales department who wants to require some items. All right, let's close it and let's log in as Sarah Johnson. Sarah Johnson. Right. So now from this list, she is allowed to start a new request, a new purchase requisition request. Let's say that she wants to buy, I don't know, a TV, which costs, let's say, $1,000. She actually wants a couple of TVs. I think that's necessary for its area. As you can see, the total price is $2,000. So this request will require the approval from the finance manager. Let's confirm the request. And now, as you can see, the case is routed now to the finance manager, Thomas Miller. Let's continue. Then let's log in as the finance manager. Right. We're in. Go to its inbox. And as we can see, our request is here, along with many other requests that he might have to, well, complete and review. Let's open it. This is a request. Sarah Johnson has requested some items which cost more than, well, $2,000. All right, but he might, Thomas Miller might not be able to complete the request. He might be busy with other things to do. So how does he reassign it to it, or I mean, delegate it to one of its subordinates? He has to go to the top menu. Allow me to do it again. Actions. Click on the reassign button, and he will be presented with the reassign dialog. He then might pick one of its subordinates. Remember that this list is populated by the users who were in the ad hoc list. And I put some reason here, please handle this request. All right. And all he had to do now is confirm the reassignation. Reassign it. You want to reassign this case? Yes. So the case is now gone from its inbox and reassign it to George Davis. George Davis. Let's take a look. So let's log in now as George Davis. Right. So here's our request, case 24, TV, $2,000. And now he might decide whether to approve it or not. Let's just review this thing, case history. So now from case history, you can see that Sarah Johnson has started the request, and then it was routed to Thomas Miller, who has then reassigned it to George Davis. And that's how it works. Now George Davis can decide to deny it or approve it. Let's just deny it for today. Right. So, well, that's it. With this demo, we just allow a user to delegate the work to a subordinate. Well, I really appreciate your attention, and I hope this webinar was useful to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Edwin. So for all of you guys watching, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them now. While you guys are submitting your questions, just let me go over some of the webinars we have coming up. So our next webinar is about upgrading ProcessMaker 2 to ProcessMaker 3, and you're invited to join us on Thursday, March 14th at 3 p.m. New York time for that webinar. Then after that, we are going to teach you how to make forms more dynamic with REST endpoints, which will be held on Thursday, March 28th at 11 a.m. New York time. And then after that, we have a webinar about our integration with LooMaps. So that's called a ProcessMaker and LooMaps Workflow Efficiency in the Social Intranet. And that will be held on Tuesday, April 16th at 3 p.m. New York time. So if you're interested in any of those webinars, please feel free to participate by going to processmaker.com/services/webinars.
Okay, there's one question from Earthland. When the last user denied a case, was it forwarded to the first user or not? I couldn't catch it actually. All right. Allow me to show you the process again. Okay. I will log in as a process architect. Okay. Admin user. All right, for this demo, the deny action just closes the thread. The case is not routed back to the requester. That's how I define it in my example, by the way. You can do it a different way, of course. The list of users for reassignment. Okay, there's one question from Frank. Is the list of users a task can be assigned to limited by the ad hoc users? Right, it's supposed to means to the reassignment pool. No, it is not. It's not close to the ad hoc users only. You can also assign people. You can also reassign to the people from the users or the available assignees. For example, let's put Susan Wilson here. In this example, the case is well assigned to be cyclically routed. The case might route to Thomas Miller or Susan Wilson. I only wanted this case to be routed to Thomas Miller only. So that's why I didn't add any other user in this task. And I wanted him to be able to reassign it to George Davis. So that's why I put George Davis here. Otherwise, if I put George Davis in this task, he might get the cases directly in this, well, reassignment methods. So to summarize, the list of reassignees will read all the assignees of the task plus the assignees, the people added in the ad hoc users list. Okay, there's one last question. Can process supervisors still reassign tasks? Yes, of course they can reassign tasks. This improvement is not affecting any of the process supervisor capabilities. So he's able to reassign the cases from well, home, under home, reassign cases. Well, you can still pick one element and then reassign. I currently have the permissions to reassign cases, so that's why I'm still able to do it from here. Reassign.
Okay, that wraps up our webinar. Thank you everyone for your questions and your attendance. I hope to see you guys for our next webinars. So have a great day.